Faking It with Formula One is the sequel to Faking It with FIA. It follows up on the story of how the routine outbursts of fake outrage by the Red Bull racing trio of Helmut Marko, Christian Horner and Max Verstappen is undermining the FIA. This video sets out how, for similar reasons outlined in Faking It with FIA, Liberty Media, the commercial rights holder to Formula One, also have cause to be concerned about damage to their brand resulting from possible backlash to offense caused by Red Bull's outrageous words or actions masquerading as outspokenness. That controversy and heated rivalries sell. Therefore, it is no surprise that the heated rivalry between the seven-time world champion driver from Britain and the young Dutch-Belgian contender, Max Verstappen, and the world constructors champion, Mercedes AMG Petronas, and the contender, Red Bull Racing, in a closely contested fight will generate good viewing figures. This year, the outbursts of fake outrage by the Red Bull trio, referenced in Faking It with FIA, have been heating up the F1 universe and polarizing communities to unprecedented levels. There have been sporadic incidents of booing in Formula One over the years, but things have gone up a notch this year, portending what is to come. Earlier on in the season, Lewis Hamilton was unceremoniously booed by the Verstappen fans that made up most of the crowd at races in Belgium, Hungary and the Netherlands. This appalling conduct can and has been attributed to the heated rhetoric directed at Hamilton from Red Bull. Significantly, Max declined an invitation to send a message to his home supporters to respect his title rival. In a sign of a disturbing trend, Verstappen was roundly booed by the Brazilians at the São Paulo Grand Prix last month, and by the Saudis at the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix yesterday, in an obvious reaction to the booing that had been meted out to Hamilton earlier in the year and Verstappen's dangerous driving. If this poisonous trend, whose escalation can clearly be traced to Verstappen and his supporters, continues, it will surely damage the sport and is particularly risky for a global championship that visits many countries and cultures. One can only speculate about what could happen at venues where rival supporters are equally matched. Under the cover of outspokenness, Verstappen and his Red Bull chiefs have been steadily causing offense and heating up the F1 community. For example, in 2017, Felipe Massa warned Verstappen about his use of racial slurs against Brazil. Last year, Verstappen again used racial slurs to offend the Mongolian nation while at the Portuguese Grand Prix. He initially declined to apologize or retract his comments but was eventually compelled to do so as the level of protest began to rise around the world. In addition to making racially offensive remarks, Verstappen tends to swear profusely on and off track, and, given that the radio communications are transmitted globally as part of the Formula One coverage, this is an obvious problem for a sport that wants to widen its appeal.
Wow.
Man, is this guy blind? What the is wrong with him? What a...
I didn't see anyone.
Turn the engine off, Chance. Turn the engine off. Completely off.
Think.
The Nikita Mazepin scandal has shown that Formula One is highly susceptible, in an increasingly globalized market where news of any indiscretion on or off track can travel around the world in seconds. It is therefore incumbent on Liberty Media to take the necessary steps to protect itself from any blowback from any possible harm that an experienced championship contending driver and team with a penchant for causing offense can expose the brand to. In its efforts to widen the appeal of its male-dominated sport, Liberty Media stopped using grid girls. The next logical step would be to require drivers and other members of the paddock to moderate their language and conduct on and off the track.